Good morning and welcome to the Morning Mug. Today is Monday, the 18th of May. I've been up for about 2 or 2.5 hours doing schoolwork, getting what I needed done for the week. So a little bit later in the morning than I wanted to, but we're still here, episode 64. Today is No Dirty Dishes Day. Good luck with that one. Visit your relatives day. So if you choose to do that, of course, use Zoom or some other type of technology or wave through a window. Please practice social distancing as much as possible. So the big one to share today is it is International Museum Day. Celebrated since 1977, there's about 20,000 museums in 90 different countries that participate. And every year there's a theme. So the 2020 theme, Museums for Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion. So I've been amazed seeing how many more museums and historic sites are having specialty sensory days, for example. So for those who are light or sound sensitive or autistic students, that there are specific days that they will adapt their exhibition spaces and be more inclusive. I just think that's absolutely fabulous. And we're seeing more and more of those opportunities come virtually as well, especially during this time. But there's about 55,000 museums worldwide. I have a long way to go. And about 35,000 in the US. For those who might not know, I love museums. Put me in a museum and it's the ultimate babysitter for me, just because I love seeing everything. I love reading as much as possible and getting my history nerd fix. I love it. I worked at the Hershey Museum part-time for about 8 years. I worked for 4 years at the Alumni Museum at Cedar Crest College. I was an intern with the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission at the Conrad Weiser Homestead in Womelsdorf, Pennsylvania. Can't get enough. Cannot get enough. I'm nerdy enough that I even have books about museums. This one, Behind the Scenes at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and this one is called Keeping Their Marbles: How Treasures of the Past Ended Up in Museums and Why They Should Stay There. Interesting opinion piece. Early museum history and the art of the heist. So this brings in my mystery and law interests with art and museums. It's about the massive theft at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. A number of pieces were stolen, and today if you go to that museum you will see frames hanging in place with the missing pieces of art. They have still yet to be found. Mystery month. It is still mystery month. So a museum. So we're talking a building. We also need to consider the virtual option that houses objects of historical, scientific, artistic, cultural interest. They're stored, they are interpreted, they are exhibited. Most museums only show a small percentage of their collections just because of space. And more organizations such as the Smithsonian are digitizing their collections so you can see them at any time. So speaking of Smithsonian, I'm going to put that link in the description for the Smithsonian Learning Lab. Go play. It is so awesome. There's the Smithsonian transcription. So in honor of International Museum Day, you can support the Smithsonian by doing a little volunteer work, do a little typety type. There's a bunch of different projects, and how cool to say that you are a volunteer for the Smithsonian. Oh my God. There are top virtual tours. It's a repost of an article that I put up a month and a half or 2 months ago. You can go to the Guggenheim, you can go to the Prado, you name it. Not just art museums, by the way. And I also have an article, 10 Reasons to Visit a Museum. They're not stuffy places with old stuff and cabinets. So much better than that. And if you don't believe me, when museums open back up, let's go, and I guarantee you will have a good time. I love taking students on trips. I could visit the same museum a dozen times and not get bored, for sure. Another thing I wanted to share, the Hershey Story Museum in Hershey, Pennsylvania, in conjunction with the Hershey Archives. They are asking for stories, accounts, oral histories of individuals living in our region here during this COVID-19 period. Think about it. So generations from now, people will have an idea of what we're experiencing. So I have a link posted for you as well. So the origin of the word museum, museum is a Latin word coming from the Greek museion, denoting a place of the muses, the original Greek muses. So if we think about rhetoric or music, philosophy, the muses were responsible for, I don't know if I want to say holding all of the knowledge, but they, all of human awesomeness in their respective disciplines. And if you think about it, that's what a museum is doing. It's demonstrating human awesomeness. In some case, not so awesomeness. But I think it's absolutely essential for us. And we're realizing how important the humanities are now. Think about you or things that you've seen on social media. People are coloring, they're reading, they're writing poetry, they're listening to music, they're playing music. Interpersonal communication. We're realizing how important our humanness is during this time. Just saying. So again, museums responsible for the preservation, interpretation, exhibition of tangible and intangible evidence, I love that part, of science, society, nature. Good stuff. One fun thing that I found, I had no idea this existed. Those of you with young children are gonna be like, yeah, it's there. Xavier Riddle and the Secret Museum. It's on PBS Kids, and it's this little interactive game thing. I spent like 20 minutes this morning. I'm like, if this was around when I was younger, oh my, oh my. All right, so, my dear friends, it's time. For what, you ask? Oh, that's sweet. Daily dose of Hanks, y'all. Oh, what? Oh. So when it comes to museums, which I love, and Tom Hanks, here are two connections for you. First of all, on the bucket list is to go to the city of New Orleans. I have not been there yet, but to go to the National World War II Museum. There is a theater called the Victory Theater inside the museum that every hour on the hour when they're open, they play a film called Beyond All Boundaries. Tom Hanks was one of the executive producers, and he, does a little spiel. So, Tom Hanks is a huge advocate for documenting the stories of those who were part of the conflict in World War II. If you think about Band of Brothers, being an executive producer, Saving Private Ryan, he's very close to Steven Spielberg. He came to Hershey, Tom did, along with Steven Spielberg, got close to Major Richard Dick Winters, who's a longtime Hershey resident. He's no longer with us. But at one point I met Dick Winters, and knowing he had met Tom Hanks, and I was just like, what's Tom Hanks like? He was like, nice guy. He's a nice guy. So I was one person away. The other thing that I found interesting on the museum front, Tom Hanks is part of the, I'm not sure if it's the board or if it's a design committee, but the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. Think of it, like the Oscars Museum. It's supposed to open in Los Angeles December 2020. I have a feeling it might be pushed back a little bit, but he did a big announcement about that. So, Tom Hanks and museums, happy day. Okay, so do a little cultural exploring today. No dirty dishes, visit your relatives. So much to do. Let's start this week off well. So, until tomorrow. Oh, it's getting cold. Okay, so until tomorrow, behave, be good, be kind, wash your hands, continue to recycle, be an amazing person, and send me your mugshots, hetricksmorningmug@gmail.com, or on these socials at Ms_Hetrick. Send me your mugs. Today's mug picture is from Aunt Patty. This is, I believe, from, it's a Frank Lloyd Wright mug, and from one of the museums. Pennsylvania people, if you've been to Falling Water, absolutely gorgeous. We'll have to talk more about Frank Lloyd Wright. His birthday's coming up next month. Alrighty, have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.